Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
I watched my own funeral from my kitchen, alive and breathing. My name is Declan Rowe. I'm 34 years old. I live in a studio apartment in South Boston, over a laundromat that smells like detergent and cigarette smoke. It was a Thursday morning. I was pouring my coffee, half awake, when my phone buzzed. Video message from Mrs. Langford. I nearly dropped the mug. I hadn't heard that name in over 10 years. She was our neighbor when I was a teenager, lived 2 doors down, always gave out butterscotch candies and advice no one asked for. Seeing her name pulled something out of me I thought I'd buried a long time ago. I hesitated before opening it, thumb hovering over the screen. No intro, no greeting, just one line typed beneath the video. I'm so sorry about your parents. I can't believe what I saw today. My stomach turned. I tapped the screen, and the video loaded with a jittery start. First thing I saw was the white stone facade of St. Bart's Church. My jaw tightened. That place. That damn place. My parents used to drag me there every Easter Sunday, all polished shoes and forced smiles. I hadn't stepped foot near it since I was 19. Then the camera zoomed in. The inside of the church, dim and hushed, filled with rows of mourners dressed in black. And there they were. My parents, up front at the podium. My mother in a black veil, her hands clasped neatly, like she was at some royal function. My father beside her, holding a folded sheet of paper with both hands, the edges trembling. He adjusted his glasses and began to speak. He was always troubled. But we did what we could. We loved him. The voice hit me like ice water. That fake calm, the way he always sounded when he was pretending to be a decent man. I blinked hard. Then I saw the casket. Closed. And beside it, mounted on a tall easel, was a blown-up photo. My photo. Senior yearbook. The one where I had too much gel in my hair and a crooked smile that tried to hide how miserable I was inside. I dropped the phone. It clattered on the tile floor, the video still playing. I reached down and paused it, hand shaking. What the hell was this? They were holding a funeral. For me, Declan Rowe, deceased, and I hadn't received a single call, letter, or whisper. They didn't even tell me I died. I replayed the video 3 times. Each time, I caught something new. The way my dad's voice cracked just enough on certain words, like someone who'd practiced in front of a mirror. The way my mom clutched a tissue she never used, dabbing at dry eyes. The subtle glances they gave each other, like they were hitting cues. At one point, my father's voice rang out clear through the phone's tiny speaker. He was always troubled, but we did what we could. We loved him. He loved me. That was news. He stood there reading from a paper, probably typed in 12-point font, neatly aligned. Not a stutter, not a single pause to collect himself. And my mom, Jesus. She talked about me like I was some character in a tragedy she'd been cast to mourn. He spent so much time alone, even before the accident. He struggled with connection. Isolation was always part of his world. She said it like she was auditioning for a Hallmark movie. And that word, accident, she used it 3 different times. Never said what it was, never said where. Just dropped it like a pre-approved phrase, a clean excuse. I pressed pause and set the phone on the counter. For a few minutes, I just stood there, staring out the tiny window above my sink. Some guy across the street was walking his dog. Another day in the neighborhood. Another day I was apparently dead. I hadn't spoken to them in over 5 years. Not since the day they sat me down in the den and told me very calmly that I was no longer welcome at family gatherings, that I had brought shame to the family and shouldn't be surprised by the consequences. They blamed me for Elena's mess. She was the golden child, always had been. Perfect teeth, perfect GPA, perfect fake smile. And when money started disappearing from the family business account, over 80 grand to be exact, she cried first, said she didn't know how it happened, said maybe I had something to do with it. My mom bought it instantly. My dad, well, he didn't say much. He never did when it came to Elena. But this, faking my death, Holding a funeral with a damn photo of me beside a casket like they'd lost me? That wasn't anger. That was erasure. It wasn't just distance anymore. It was obliteration. And the thing that chilled me most, they weren't acting like they got caught. They acted like this was normal, like they believed it. That's what stuck with me. Their words weren't panicked. They were calm, controlled, polished, rehearsed. It wasn't grief. It was a performance. And I wasn't the audience. I was the prop they'd written out of the script. I took a deep breath and picked up my phone again. There had to be a reason for all of this. Something they gained by declaring me dead. Money? Maybe. Some kind of insurance policy? A legal benefit? A trust? Or maybe it wasn't about gain. Maybe it was about getting rid of me, making the lie stick. If they wanted me dead on paper, I had to find out what they got in return. Because this wasn't some tragic misunderstanding. This wasn't a mistake. This was a cover-up. And I was the body they buried to make it work. 3 years ago, almost to the day, I got the call. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I was sitting in the back office of the shop I'd been managing for almost a year, eating a gas station sandwich and trying to fix the damn printer. That's when Elena called. "You need to come to the house," she said. No greeting. No warmth. Now. Click. By the time I pulled into the driveway, Mom was already pacing the front porch, arms folded tight like she was bracing for a storm. Dad stood off to the side, staring into the hedge like it had answers. Inside, the air was heavy. Our living room always smelled faintly like lemon cleaner and stale coffee. That day it smelled like tension. The accountant was there. Some guy with thick glasses and a folder fat enough to choke a horse. He laid it all out. Money missing from the business account, charges that didn't match, invoices that had never been paid. $85,000 gone in less than 6 months. Elena sat at the edge of the couch, legs crossed, arms folded. Her nails were freshly done, those long, glossy, coffin-shaped ones that cost more than my weekly paycheck. She didn't look at me once. "Someone had access," the accountant said. "Only immediate family with admin privileges." Elena's name was on that list. Mine too. Before I could even speak, Mom turned to me. "Declan," she said softly, too softly. "We need to talk." I remember exactly what she said next, word for word. "Better one ruined son than two." That was it. Dad didn't say anything. Didn't even look at me. Just exhaled like he was tired of being alive and walked out of the room. I was out the next morning. I didn't even get time to pack my things properly. Mom had left a duffel bag by the door, a few clothes, my passport, a manila envelope with $500 in cash. There was no apology, no sit down, just silence. And the unspoken rule, don't come back. I tried calling later that week, straight to voicemail. I texted Elena. No reply, not even a read receipt. I sent letters, actual handwritten letters, thinking maybe they'd feel too guilty to throw them out. I poured my heart into those things, told them I didn't do it, told them I'd take a lie detector, meet with the accountant, whatever it took. Nothing. It was like I'd never existed, like they scrubbed me clean from the family photo. I tried reaching out to old friends, even some of our employees at the business. Most of them were polite but distant. Some didn't answer at all. One guy, Rob, the guy who used to fix the delivery vans, finally picked up and told me flat out, "Your mom said you were dealing with some issues, that you needed space." He paused. "Honestly, man, she made it sound like you were sick, like mentally." That hit me harder than I thought it would. It wasn't just disowning me. They were rewriting the story, telling people I was broken, dangerous, unstable. And the more I tried to defend myself, the more it sounded like proof. So eventually, I stopped trying. I moved to Boston, changed my number, took jobs under the table, learned to live small, quiet, invisible. When the world shuts you out, you learn to disappear. At some point, I figured maybe that was the only thing I'd ever be good at. Vanishing. But lately, something had shifted. The fake funeral, the video, the closed casket with my face beside it. They didn't just cut me off. They erased me. Not banished, buried. They didn't just disown me. They deleted me. About a year ago, I needed to reset a password. That's how this part started. Boring. Mundane. I was trying to get back into my old Gmail because it had an old resume I needed for a warehouse job. I typed in my email, clicked Forgot Password, and waited for the usual dance. Security questions, backup email, that whole thing. Instead, I got this. This account has been deactivated due to a death report. I blinked, thought maybe I read it wrong. I tried again, same message. I even laughed. Like, what? A death report? What kind of screw-up was this? So I called customer support, expecting a quick fix. The woman on the phone was polite, almost too polite, like she was reading from a script meant for grieving widows. "I'm very sorry, Mr. Rowe," she said, "but the account was closed last July due to a third-party verification of death." Verification of what? "Do you have the document on file?" I asked. My voice was shaking, but I was trying to sound calm. She paused. "Oh, we aren't allowed to share those unless requested by next of kin." I almost choked. "I am the next of kin. I'm also the dead guy." Silence. Then she said she'd escalate the case. Someone would be in touch. That call never came. So I dug deeper. I went to the state public records portal, ran my own name through the system, fully expecting it to come up blank. It didn't. There it was, in bold text. Declan Rowe, deceased. Date of death, July 16th. Cause, motor vehicle accident. Listed abroad. Country, Italy. Italy? I'd never even been out of the damn country. I don't even have a valid passport. I kept scrolling. There was a certificate number, an ID tied to the death record. Something felt wrong, too official, too neat. And then I saw it. That same certificate number showed up again. On a financial form. A tax-related filing from the year after I died. Whoever declared me dead didn't just do it for show. They used it. They filed a death certificate, a real one, registered and stamped, and used that to move something. I wasn't sure what at first. I screenshotted the record and started cross-checking it with anything I could find that had my name on it. Bank remnants, old accounts, things I hadn't touched in years. That's when I found the trust. A dormant family trust. Something my grandfather had set up before he died. I remembered it vaguely. They used to talk about it like a myth. One day, my dad would say, when the time is right. Turns out, the time was when Declan dies in a fake car crash. The trust had my name on it, a clause that released funds to other beneficiaries if I was legally declared dead. I sat there on the floor of my apartment staring at the screen, my laptop heating up my thighs like it was angry too. They made it legal. They filed the paperwork, built the story, registered a fake death in a foreign country, and closed out my accounts like I was an expired membership. It wasn't about grief. It wasn't about shame. It was about money. If they went that far, if they made it official, there had to be a paper trail. And if there was a paper trail, there had to be a name. Someone signed that form. Someone filed that transfer. And I was going to find out who I started with Aunt Mel. She used to knit me socks every Christmas, the kind with weird patterns and scratchy wool. She was always the fun aunt, the one who smuggled me chocolate when Mom put me on a no-sugar diet in 5th grade. I figured if anyone would talk, it'd be her. I was wrong. The phone rang twice before she picked up. "Mel, it's me." Click. I called again, straight to voicemail. By the 3rd try, I got the message. Blocked. I moved on. Texted 3 cousins. One sent a thumbs-up emoji. The other replied, "LOL, is this a joke?" Yeah. Hilarious. I'm the punchline of my own obituary. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, feeling that old familiar ache bloom in my chest. Rejection never gets easier. You just get better at pretending it doesn't bother you. Then my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. It was Sam, my youngest cousin. He used to trail behind me at family reunions, asking a million questions about everything. My guitar, my tattoos, why I hated church so much. He was 9 the last time I saw him. Now he was what? 14? 15? His message was short. They said you died overseas. Car crash. Closed casket. I stared at it. Reread it 5 times. That was the story they gave everyone. Not just a funeral. A full narrative. Car crash. Abroad. No body. Closed casket. Tidy. Clean. Hard to question. Then another message came through. You were cremated. At least, that's what they said at the reception. Uncle Dave cried. A little. Cremated. So they doubled down. No chance for someone to ask about an empty box. No viewing. No slip-ups. I took a breath. Typed back. Do you believe them? There was a long pause. Then, no. Not anymore. That was all I needed. A crack. One person who saw through it. And then he sent the photo. At first I didn't know what I was looking at. It was a screenshot from Instagram, a wedding post. White dress, fancy venue, Elena and her new husband posing under some chandelier made of flowers and gold rings. Caption, best day of my life. My stomach twisted. I almost missed it. The date at the bottom. July 18th, 2 days after I died, while my parents were reading eulogies at St. Bart's and telling everyone I'd been cremated in some vague European crash. Elena was getting married under a flower arch like nothing happened. Same family, same people, same timeline. No black dresses, no mourning, just smiles, champagne, cake. I zoomed in. There was my dad, grinning like a proud father, arm around Elena. My mom in the background, dabbing her eyes, not from grief, but joy. I felt sick. It wasn't just that they didn't mourn me. It was that they used my death like a prop, a distraction, a cover. Suddenly it made sense. The closed casket, the rush, the tightly controlled details. They needed the lie to work. They needed people to believe I was gone so Elena could step into the spotlight without any shadows. I texted Sam again. Did anyone say why they had the funeral that week? A minute passed. Elena didn't want to delay the wedding. Said you'd want her to go through with it. Said you'd want her happy. I felt something snap in me. A sharp, bitter laugh broke out of my chest before I could stop it. I'd want her happy. Of course, that was the story. Make the dead brother a saint, and no one asks questions. I had the proof now. Time, place, faces. Now I just needed one more thing. The motive. I hadn't looked at Elena's social media in years. I figured she'd blocked me, or I'd blocked her. I couldn't remember which came first. But after Sam sent that wedding photo, I got curious. I typed in her handle, and there it was. Her profile wasn't just active, it was public. She'd changed the name to her married one. Glossy bio, pastel highlight covers, a grid full of white florals, designer shoes, and perfectly timed candid shots. It looked more like an ad campaign than a wedding album. I scrolled, champagne fountains, bridesmaids in matching silk robes, a neon sign that said "The Rose Forever" above a dance floor. And then the money shot. Her and her husband kissing under a canopy of white roses while someone shot off sparklers. I almost dropped my phone. Every damn person was there. Aunts, cousins, even Uncle Ray, the guy who hadn't left Nebraska in a decade. He was smiling in the background, holding a plate of shrimp cocktail like he'd never heard the words "closed casket" in his life. The next post made my blood freeze. It was a photo of my dad giving a toast. Arm raised, wine glass tilted toward the crowd. The caption, "To the one daughter who always made us proud." I read it again and again, like maybe the words would rearrange themselves into something less cruel. I locked my phone and sat back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. My little studio felt smaller than usual. The pipes were hissing in the walls again. Outside, someone's car alarm kept chirping every 20 seconds. I couldn't stop thinking about the toast. The one daughter who always made us proud. They didn't just erase me. They rewrote the script and handed her the lead role. I opened my laptop and logged into the state financial database. I still had the login info from when I'd helped my parents with tax prep years ago. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Maybe just confirmation that I wasn't losing my mind. I clicked through the registry. There it was. The family trust. Once listed under multiple names. My dad, Elena, and me. Now, just one name. The account tagged with my social security number had been marked closed. The funds, transferred, quietly, seamlessly. The digital signature on the closing form looked like a traced version of my dad's writing. And the destination? A sub-account titled ER Secondary Beneficiary. Elena Rowe. My sister didn't just forget me, she cashed me out. I sat there, watching the screen, heart pounding in my ears. There's a certain kind of rage that doesn't come with yelling or breaking things. It just settles low in your gut. Cold, final. Like someone hit a switch and all the warmth drained out of your system. I clicked over to her Instagram again, just to confirm what Sam had said. I scrolled past honeymoon pics, tropical beaches, and spa selfies. Then I saw it. A post from 3 days ago, a black square, white serif text, honoring Declan. 1 year gone, never forgotten. Memorial service this Sunday at St. Bart's. All are welcome. There was a location tag, a time, a quote underneath about forgiveness and healing. I almost laughed. This wasn't grief. This wasn't remembrance. This was damage control. They knew something was cracking in the story. Maybe someone asked a question they couldn't answer. Maybe Sam said something he shouldn't have. Either way, they were closing ranks, reinforcing the lie. But they made one mistake. They gave me the date. They gave me the place. If they wanted closure, I'd give it to them, face to face. Because this time, I wouldn't be a name in a eulogy. I'd be standing in the doorway, breathing. And I wanted them to see it. I got there 10 minutes early, parked 2 blocks down, and walked the rest of the way. The air was muggy, that sticky New England summer kind of hot where you sweat even standing still. I had on a long black coat, sunglasses, and a ball cap pulled low. Not exactly subtle, but subtle wasn't the point. St. Bart stood there looking exactly the same. Same crooked iron fence, same cracked stone steps, same heavy wooden doors that once slammed behind me when I was 15 and stormed out during a sermon. Some things never change. I stood across the street, hidden in plain sight, watching them file in. There was my Aunt Rita, the one who always smelled like menthols and guilt. My cousin Jeremy, the human LinkedIn profile. Even my old piano teacher, Mrs. O'Connell, hobbling up the stairs with a walker and a fake smile. And then Elena showed up. Big sunglasses. Black heels too tall for a church. Clutching a little black purse like it held the ashes of my dignity. She posed outside for a quick photo. I watched her fix her hair, tilt her chin just right. Then she walked in, not a trace of hesitation in her step. A few minutes later, the bells rang. I crossed the street. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears, but my face was calm. I had practiced it in the mirror for days, blank, unreadable, still. I stepped up to the church doors and waited. Inside, the organ was playing something soft and tragic. I cracked the door just a bit and peeked in. Packed, not a seat empty. My parents sat in the front row, Mom in a black lace veil, Dad stiff in his suit, arms folded like he was guarding a throne. Up at the pulpit, Elena stood with her hands gently clasped. She cleared her throat like she was about to read a sonnet. "He lost his way," she began, voice trembling in all the right places. But we never stopped praying. Not once. I closed my eyes for a second. Now, I thought. The priest stepped forward. "Let us observe a moment of silence for Declan Rowe, beloved son, brother, cousin, friend." I grabbed the door handle and shoved it open. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Heads turned, necks craned. Conversation stopped mid-whisper. I stepped into the aisle, pulled off the sunglasses, and let them see me. Elena gasped. My mother made a noise, half scream, half sob, and then slumped sideways like her strings had been cut. My father caught her too late. Her wine glass, yes, there was wine at this thing, slipped from her hand and shattered against the tile. Elena didn't move, didn't blink. She just stared like she was watching a ghost climb out of the grave. Someone whispered, "Is that?" Another, "Oh my God." I kept walking. Slow, steady, no rush. Every step down the aisle felt like peeling back another layer of their lie. This wasn't just my funeral anymore. It was my resurrection. I stopped halfway to the front and looked around the room. Every face I once trusted, every mouth that said nothing when they threw me out. They were all here, dressed in black, clutching tissues, mourning a man who hadn't gone anywhere. They said goodbye, I said, voice low but clear. But now they get to say it to my face. My mom came too. She blinked up at me, face pale as marble. My dad didn't say a word, just stared at the broken glass on the floor. And Elena, she still hadn't moved. Like maybe if she stayed still enough, it would all go away. But I wasn't going anywhere. Not this time. I walked down the aisle like I owned the place. Phones came out. Gasps rippled through the pews like a wave. Some people looked shocked, others looked scared, and a few, mostly the older ones in the back, looked like they were witnessing the second coming. I stopped at the altar, turned around slowly, and faced the room. Everyone was staring. Some had their hands over their mouths. Elena had backed up a step behind the podium, one trembling hand still resting on the edge like it might hold her up. I reached into my coat and pulled out the folder, thick, worn at the edges, stuffed full of receipts, printouts, copies, and a few notarized pages I'd picked up that very morning. Before anyone calls security, I said, "Let me save you the trouble." I opened the folder and flipped through the tabs like I was presenting at a business meeting. "Here's my passport," I said, holding it up, stamped at Logan International on July 16th. Right here, I left Boston at noon and never left the country. I pulled out a printout. And here's my bank activity from that day. Look, ATM withdrawal, corner of Dorchester Avenue. If I was dead in a car crash in Italy, I must have been using some damn long arms. The room was dead quiet. And here, I continued, holding up a stack of pages, are tax records for that year, filed, signed, with my name and social security number, same number that was used to deactivate my accounts, cancel my health insurance, and, get this, close out the trust fund my grandfather left me. I looked directly at Elena. "Enjoy the house?" I asked. "The money? The future you stole?" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Her eyes were wide, glistening. "You told everyone I was dead," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Not missing, not estranged. Dead. You held a service. You made speeches. You printed flyers with Bible verses, all while you were planning a wedding." Behind me, someone whispered, "She's got proof." Another person started filming. I saw the screen light up from the second row. I didn't need to yell, didn't need to rant. All I had to do was speak plainly. The truth landed harder than any scream ever could. "You cashed me out," I said. "Turned me into a ghost so you could inherit what wasn't yours. And for what? A bigger wedding venue? A down payment on a condo?" My mother stood now, weak at the knees, one hand gripping the pew in front of her. "Declan," she said, barely above a whisper. I didn't look at her. "You told people I struggled," I said to the room, "that I was unstable. You called it an accident, a tragedy." I held up the certificate. "This?" I waved it. "This is forgery, fraud, a lie signed in ink and filed under my name." The murmuring started. Low at first, then louder, people leaning in, whispering to each other. Some were already scrolling through their phones, probably comparing the memorial post to the wedding photos. It didn't take a detective to spot the overlap. The whole room shifted. The mood changed. This wasn't a funeral anymore. It was an exposé. I saw Uncle Ray whisper something to Aunt Rita, who looked like she might faint. Even Father Thomas looked uncomfortable, adjusting his collar and quietly stepping back from the pulpit like he didn't want to be caught in the crossfire. I took one last look around. "You all came here to mourn me," I said. "Now you can remember me for something else." I tapped the folder in my hand. Truth. On record, And with that, I stepped down from the altar, slow and calm, letting the silence do the rest. Let them talk. Let them film. Let them know. The next morning, I was in my lawyer's office with a coffee in one hand and a stack of paperwork in the other. No small talk, no pleasantries, just business. Her name was Rachel Kwan. Sharp eyes, sharper tongue. The kind of attorney you'd want leading a mutiny. She flipped through the folder I handed her like she already knew how the story ended. "This is insane," she said, not looking up, "but very winnable." She filed 3 motions within 48 hours. Fraud, revocation of the death declaration, and a formal request for a state-level investigation into the trust transfer. By the end of the week, the Department of Vital Records had issued a temporary reversal of my death status, pending full clearance. I was legally, mostly alive again. My name was back in their system. My ID number was restored. The forged death certificate? Rachel tore it in half right in front of me and tossed it into the shredder. "There, therapeutic and legal," she said, sipping her espresso. A week after that, a formal inquiry was opened into the trust. Financial audits, paper trails, subpoenaed records. Apparently, things got real quiet on Elena's end. She stopped posting. No new selfies, no updates from her honeymoon suite in Tulum. Her Instagram went private, then it vanished. My parents' Facebook accounts? Deleted. They didn't just ghost me. They ghosted the internet. Like someone told them silence would buy them time. It wouldn't. I kept my own accounts dark. No posts, no status updates. Just watched the numbers roll in. My phone buzzed nonstop. Cousins, old neighbors, family friends who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly remembered how to dial a number. "Declan, are you okay?" We didn't know. If we had known, we never would have. Too late. I didn't reply. Not a single message. Let them sit in the same silence they left me in. That Sunday, I got a text from Aunt Mel, the same one who'd blocked me weeks earlier. "I'm praying for peace in your heart." Peace. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. Peace wasn't the goal. It never was. I didn't come back to mend fences or talk things out over lukewarm coffee and fake apologies. I came back to make sure they broke. And they did. That night, Rachel called. "You sitting down?" I was on the couch eating leftover takeout. "Why?" "The state just flagged the trust account." I froze. Flagged it how? Red tagged it for potential criminal activity, fraudulent filing, misuse of identity, possible felony counts depending on how many signatures they forged. She paused. "And if they used your death to transfer anything across state lines, say, accounts held in another state, we're looking at federal interest." I didn't speak right away. All those years they made me feel small, disposable, replaceable. And now? The system they used to erase me was turning around to bite them in the throat. Good, let it. I didn't need revenge, not in the cinematic explode their house kind of way. This was better. They wanted to bury me, and now they'd get to explain to a court why the man they buried was very much alive. And holding receipts. The courthouse was smaller than I remembered. Just brick and windows and that stale government office smell. I sat in a plastic chair outside the clerk's office, holding the final form in my hands. My name in black ink, spelled right this time. Declan Rowe. Living, breathing, present. The clerk was a woman in her 50s, hair pulled into a tight bun and eyes that didn't miss a thing. She looked the form over like she'd seen 1,000 just like it, but probably never one quite like mine. "You sure you're ready for this?" she asked. "Been ready," I said. She slid the paper back toward me. I signed, full name, clean and steady. She stamped it, loud, final, and just like that, I was alive again. No parade, no confetti, just a dull echo of a stamp and a tiny line of fresh ink that rewrote my place in the world. I nodded once, stood, and walked out without looking back. Outside, the air felt different. Lighter somehow. Not clean. Boston's not known for clean air, but open. The sun was hitting the windows of the building across the street, casting this warm glow on the sidewalk like the city was trying to welcome me back. I didn't need it. I wasn't dead. I wasn't broken. I was done. Done chasing apologies that were never coming. Done trying to fix something they had no intention of rebuilding. They buried me to protect themselves. But I brought the shovel back. And I dug up everything. No apologies. No tears. Just silence. The kind that rattles guilty hearts more than any shouted accusation ever could. I'd heard from a friend of a friend that my parents sold their house and moved somewhere quiet. Elena dropped her new last name and disappeared from social media completely. Not that I was tracking them. But when people panic, they leave footprints. And maybe that's all I ever wanted. Not justice, not revenge. Just for them to feel a sliver of what they put me through. As I turned the corner past the old cathedral, I heard church bells ringing in the distance. A low, steady chime. Same tone, same rhythm I'd heard on the day they faked my funeral. I stopped for a second, hands in my coat pockets. They weren't ringing for me this time. They were ringing for them. A little memorial for what they lost. Not a son, but the lie they tried so hard to keep buried. I kept walking. Sometimes the best revenge isn't confrontation or courtroom drama. Sometimes it's just surviving, in full view. Let them whisper, let them wonder. I never needed their approval, just their panic.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.